Hello and good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And here we go, folks. We have an incredible show for you today. Breaking news. Guess what, folks? It's time to riot because there's not another Splinter Cell coming out. Apparently, they have sold out over at Ubisoft, and we're getting a new free-to-play game. That sucks. But before we get into the topic, because that's the opening topic, there's two things we got to talk about. First of all, we are very privileged and very honored to have Benji Sales with us. Benji, dude, I've been a fan of your work. I love how you conduct yourself within the community. I think it's awe-inspiring, considering your presence within the business side of gaming. And also, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. How the heck are you?
Thank you for the warm welcome. That is incredibly humbling. I really seriously appreciate it. Yeah, I'm pumped to hang out. Pumped to chat. We got a whole bunch to talk about. I'm really excited about it. So thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Well, dude, like I said, I've heard you on RDX, one of my favorite podcasts, which, of course, Dealer and those guys over there. I've heard you on other podcasts as well and said, you know what, I would love to get you on. And here you are. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us, brother. Cannot wait to get into some of these topics. And the second part of for me as a host that I'm very excited to talk about is Asante specifically, because today, for the second topic of the show, he is going to be taking over the microphone in a new segment that we're going to be doing, spotlighting the folks on this show, where they're going to be tasked to write their own topic. And then, of course, like the hosts that they are, handle their business. Asante, how the heck are you? And the topic you picked today is a hot and tasty one.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Boom. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Benji, I appreciate you being here as well. I'm usually in your chat most days when you get online and start asking questions. I enjoy
awesome.
watching you in the chat. You know, you and all the questions and stuff. I always think it's real cool. So it's a treat for me to have you here. So yes. And the man, the Dutch man himself, I always appreciate you being here. And of course, he seems a little quiet. He's muted over there, but
there he is.
He's not quiet. Don't worry about
it. There you go. So yes, we have some interesting topics today. I wrote a little something. It's conversation that we've been having in the Twitterverse already anyway. So we might as well hop on here and have that conversation. I'm looking forward to all the topics. So let's get started.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, the Dutch. You know him as the best beard in the business. Not only besides that, he's an incredible community member. He's having one heck of a show this week, celebrating 1 year of his podcast. Dutch, welcome back, brother.
Welcome. Yes, it is going to be. I'm still dreading trying to manage that show. 16 guests.
I love it.
Show.
Wow.
It is going to be insane, but I can't wait. It's going to be really great. And again, it is about that community. So getting the 16 guests and managing those 16 people, as well as having a 7-panel in the first place, is mainly just to give the community back like a crazy show, just to have fun with for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it end up lasting. Just have some fun. And enjoy it. So yeah, awesome stuff. Really excited to speak with Benji today. I've been following your work for quite a while now. And the best thing about following your work, Benji, is that you are strictly not just the business side of things, but you stay firmly away from that fanboy nonsense on all sides. And that is the best thing about that.
Thank you. I try my best. I try my best to not get involved in all of that.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. And they're the people I appreciate most is sticking to what we care about, and that's the gaming sector and what makes games the way they are. So no, absolutely awesome. Appreciate you, and glad to have you here.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to have you, Benji. And of course, obviously, it is fantastic to have you back. And what if you didn't know, Wandering Dutch is recently one of the newest members to this ever-growing family that is the Primetime Gaming panel. And he brings a tremendous amount of worth with him. And we're great to have him. And last and in no way least, literally the loudest man in Canada, but the best bald head since Kojak. Middle-aged gamer guy. How the heck are you, brother?
Well, I am doing fantastic tonight. And you know what? I got to say, first of all, I'm excited to be here. I'm a huge fan of Benji Sales here. And you know what? How embarrassing it is that the very first time I finally get to meet this guy, he literally just hears a tirade of foul language from me because my PC decided to act a fool 3 minutes before showtime. But anyways, enough of that nonsense. Guys, we have one hell of a show for you tonight. Again, honored guest and, of course, our great panel and our wonderful chat. We got some great topics, so let's get right into the show.
Yeah, you know what, folks? Like you've heard me talk about before, my show notes, they're elaborate. And I will dare say that Asante challenges me on the elaborateness of the show notes, which is amazing because the homework you have to do. I'm doing an audible. I did have a topic that I'm going to push forward to the Thursday Xbox Factor podcast because I have to talk about what happened today with Ubisoft. Now, anyone that watches my content knows that I'm a huge Ubisoft fan. I stan, if you want to call it. I love their work. I've been a big fan of the get to this tower on this game, collect this over here, big open world, lots to do, very exciting. I love it. Now, a lot of people don't, and I hear you. What I have been clamoring for, what I have been wrong for, I think 5 or 6 E3s in a row, was how Splinter Cell was going to show up on the Microsoft stage as a timed exclusive coming home to where Sam Fisher found life on the OG Xbox way back in the days. Now, somehow or another, we have had a multitude of incredible Tom Clancy experiences. The Division, my personal favorite game of the last generation, right along with Titanfall 2. Not Division 2, Division 1. Maybe because I'm biased because it was in New York. I enjoyed Division 2 not as much as 1. And something happened today that I had put out a tweet yesterday that because I know IGN had put out, I think it was maybe 12 or 14 minutes of what was a first-person shooter. Now, I didn't see that before my tweet. Now, my tweet sounds silly, but I said that, okay, if the new announcement isn't a Splinter Cell game, I don't like violence, but we're going to riot. So
is it time to riot?
It is absolutely time to riot because what I saw today made me a very sad person, made me a very sad Ubisoft fan, made me a very sad gamer. The new game that is clearly a take on, well, we got to get some of that cash from free-to-play games, has found its way to Splinter Cell and The Division and a host of other games that all seem to be one big mashup called X-Defiant. Now, I understand if you want to make a military shooter based on the IPs that come with the Tom Clancy name, and I couldn't argue with that. What I didn't expect in my peanut butter was, of course, a skateboard wheel from something like Tony Hawk, because that's what it feels like. It feels like they took the worst things from Tony Hawk, threw it into a Splinter Cell game, and you got X-Defiant. It's punk rock, according to the video, mosh pit inspired combat. Folks, listen, here's the thing, man. I mean, look, I'm all for positivity, but every now and again, Boom's got to get in his feels, and I got to talk about this. This is gross. This is a terrible attempt to become a part of the free-to-play conversation, and it's going to be very forgettable. It could be potentially, and I'm not trying to diss anyone because I don't have more. He has more talent in his thumbnail than I have in my entire body, but. You know, Gears of War alumni Cliffy B came up with a couple of shooters that were extremely forgettable. And I have a very, very strong suspicion, hunch, feeling, whatever you want to call it, that this, in fact, is going to go the way of the dodo birds very quickly because no one's going to give a flying F. But I want to bring Benji Sales into the conversation. Benji, again, we understand that gaming as a business. We understand that corporations have investors. We understand that it is about making money. No one's ever going to take away from that. Take your feelings and leave them at the door because it's a business, like Major League Baseball, like the NFL, like anything. But this is clearly a cash grab. It's not even a good one. The graphics for what I saw was supposed to be the unveiling of this looked very poor. They looked very janky. What are your thoughts on this poor man's shooter? It seems is like.
You know, it's funny. One of the things that I said to someone, like kind of after I saw the trailer and I saw the concept and stuff, I said, you know, this to me feels like a game it's either going to be a huge hit or a colossal failure. Like, it's hard for me to see like any middle ground with this game. I don't know. It just feels like one of those things that it's either going to blow up, like it is going to find an audience and do crazy well, or literally the exact opposite. It's just so hard for me to imagine this game kind of chugging along middle of the road, you know, some people playing it, because it's so like, even the way it's being received right now, it's so polarizing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going one way or the other. You know, it's clear that Ubisoft is heavily pursuing a free-to-play model moving forward. You know, they haven't really been that shy about it lately. You know, the last investors call I was on it, and they were just openly talking about free-to-play like crazy. It's definitely the way they're headed. And to me, it does feel like a big gamble. You know, they had so much success in the AAA space, so much success with franchises like, you know, The Division, like you mentioned, like even Ghost Recon. Now, Breakpoint, not so good, but the one before that, Wildlands, that was a huge
Wildlands.
hit.
I have 500 plus hours.
Yeah, it was a
I
huge
got
hit.
every achievement. It was incredible.
Huge
Yes.
hit. You know, Rainbow Six. I could kind of go down the list, right? They had so many huge hits with AAA. Free to play is not a guarantee. There's so much competition in that space. You know, you look at stuff like Apex Legends, you look at stuff like Valorant, you look at stuff like Fortnite. You know, you really got to pull Call of Duty Warzone.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be hard to pull
Halo
players.
Infinite this fall.
Yes, spot on. Halo Infinite coming up, which if you know, free to play. So it's like, it just seems like it's going to be so hard to break out. And I feel like that's why, like, as you mentioned, it kind of feeling like a cash grab. I think that's why they're bringing in all of these franchises, right? You're seeing the Splinter Cell references. You're seeing the, you know, the Division references. They're trying to get eyeballs on this by using those IP. And I just I genuinely have no idea if this is going to work or not. I feel like it's going to go radically one of two ways, either a total bomb or a huge hit. And I'm not sure which one.
You know what? Here's the thing. You know, you made mention of it, and it is literally the elephant in every room of every gamer that appreciates a third-person, story-driven spy thriller that has the name or takes the name of Tom Clancy, and that is Splinter Cell. Now, this has become a running joke within the community, within these, you know, within all aspects of games media. You know, friend of this show, Randolph 19, actually spoke to someone a couple of years ago that played a Splinter Cell game that somehow got shelved, canned, whatever. And it's one of those. I mean, look, I'm going to say this. It's hard to believe, and folks, this is a fact. This is not my assumption. This is an actual thing, that a Splinter Cell, and when you say Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher, at least in my opinion, is as relevant as any major game character. Mario, Master Chief, Kratos, you name it, you can put him right there, shoulder to shoulder, because of how many games he's had and how many incredible experience we have had through those games. Somehow or another, he missed an entire generation. How is that a thing? Like, and now we're into, you know, technically year one, because, you know, it can't, you know, the new consoles came out November, December, so it's not a full year. So this is technically year one. But once we come around to the end of the year, we'll have an entire full year, which would make 9 years without an actual Splinter Cell proper. Like, I'm not even sure who's running the show at Ubisoft now, but that is a bit of a head scratcher. Asante, let's bring you into the conversation with this. This is one of those, it almost seems like a dream, a nightmare, if you will. And again, if you would have said this to me after, let's say, Splinter Cell, the third or fourth one, that the last Splinter Cell we're going to see is going to take 9 years to get out. I say you're freaking crazy. That's leaving money on the table. It's Sam Fisher, for crying out loud. First of all, what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on this new hot garbage that they have that they released free to play?
This is the face of a person who is not surprised. Yeah. Seriously, how many times have we played this game? It's so unfortunate. Actually, what I was expecting to see Sam Fisher in this game. Just
I agree.
To add insult to injury. That's what I was expecting. You know, just like
that's
Sam
what I was
Fisher.
waiting for.
Have you not seen the artwork? Have you not seen the artwork?
I was seriously, yes, 100%. I was waiting for it, and they didn't announce it. It might still come because it is a free-to-play game. Right. They might still go, oh, and we have new operators.
They're selling you a skin
Fisher.
with Sam Fisher's face on
That's
it.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
And that's just, and that's what's to be expected. I mean, at this point, I'm looking forward to Sam Fisher's dating sim before I'm waiting for Splinter Cell. Like, forget about it. I'm talking with folks in the chat. I don't care. Please, Sony, not Microsoft, Sony, buy them. I'll pay the $75.
Yeah.
I just want a game.
Yep.
Please, just a game. Now, I will preface it by saying, I'm one of those rare heathens. I also play VR, and I hear there's a VR game coming, so I'm excited for that. But I understand that in general, that's not what we're here for. One of my fondest memories is, and do you still have that sound effect on your phone?
You know what? I have to find it, sir. I don't have it readily available because
one of my fondest memories
is
that sound effect on Xbox, OG Xbox One. They had the weird cloth effects that were just beyond compare at the time. Like,
dude, even
the graphics were okay, but the cloth effects were insane.
Look, what about the spider web effects in the vents? They were like godlike.
Yeah, and when it goes black and white, it just looks so real. Like that's the game we remember, and it's just never going to come back. We need to just get over it. Community, let's give each other a hug. Let's mourn the loss. It's a wrap. Like, come on. Every time they open their mouth, we get surprised and disappointed. I'm sick and tired of it. I want to be surprised by good things. We are never getting a Splinter Cell game. We just aren't. And about this game, it is hot garbage. Of course, it's hot garbage.
Terrible.
What you've noticed is every time Ubisoft comes up with something new, it's because something new that one of their producers has pitched, right? And if they don't do that, then you get stuff like this. The first Assassin's Creed, yay. The additional Assassin's Creeds after, formulaic. And you can see that consistently. And it seems to me that they've lost the creative brain trust over there. They make quality games. I put hundreds of hours into Valhalla after putting hundreds of hours into Odyssey, after putting hundreds of hours into Origins.
I didn't like Valhalla, to be honest with you. Like, I did
Valhalla
not.
was a bit dialed by numbers for me. Yeah. I didn't like the way they did the weapons. I didn't like the way, they were slowly kind of changing the formula. I still love Odyssey and Origins more.
Odyssey is so good. I love Odyssey.
Yeah. And after I spent like almost 200 hours in Origins, I went, oh, I probably don't want to do this. It's getting tired. And then I spent another 200 in Odyssey. And at that time, they were testing something that would eventually become Google Stadia, and I was part of the test group. So they gave me a free copy on my PC, and I beat it there too. You see? So I've been playing these games forever, and I'm expecting them to, they follow the internet. They're on Twitter. They know that any single gamer, not even Ubisoft gamer in general. What's the game you want to see? We want Splinter Cell. Everybody says so. And year after year, they refuse to even mention, or hey, we have something in the works. Hey, we hear you. We're trying. None of that. And then they come out and they're very full-throated in their confidence, and they release hot trash. So my part of this whole thing is to convince everybody, please. Let us mourn the loss. It's a wrap. Let's move on.
It's very, I say this. It's very unfortunate that we have come to this point where we just expect to be let down. And again, I wrote the tweet being facetious because I knew that they were not going to bring a new Splinter Cell and drop it on a Monday. An average Monday in the summer. That's something that you would have dropped at E3 because you have the most eyes and you get the most, they can tell their investors, hey, listen, we had 1 million views on this new trailer or 10 million views. So, give us more money. middle-aged gamer guy, listen,
Yes.
let's get your opinion on this, because I'm sure it's going to be a hearty one at that. This game that is coming out looks to be a skater boy's nightmare dream come true with a first-person shooter kind of thrown in as just cover. When I heard the producer say that, yeah, this is a mosh pit inspired shooter, I literally stopped watching the video and only finished it because we had to talk about it, but it was like nails on the chalkboard, because I was like, what the H just happened? And this is what they gave us, and they think that somehow with factions that we're going to somehow really enjoy the fact that the upper echelon of gamers, of shooter gamers who appreciate a good story, who appreciate quality shooting, which I didn't see. We're going to somehow gravitate to this because it's free to play, and we know how free to play is. It is what it is. Some people do it great, some people do it terrible. This looks like it's terrible. What is your thoughts? Well, what are your thoughts, I should say?
I have several. Free to play is a fickle beast. It's either people gravitate to it immediately and just latch onto it and it becomes a monstrous success, or it utterly fails. There is no in between with that genre. And the thing is, in their defense, why not take a shot? I'm not saying it's going to work. I don't think it's going to hurt their reputation, because they do have their reputation with their games. Now, you got to look at what's going on right now. I think that the reason why I'm going to bring up the Splinter Cell thing first, because you brought it up. A couple people brought it up, right? And I think the reason why you haven't seen a Splinter Cell is they're making so much money off the franchises that they have now. Look at the Rainbow Six situation.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Look at the attach rate of gamers that are playing that game across PC, consoles, whatever, right? It is unbelievable. It is almost unfathomable how many tens of millions of people are playing that game. I tried it. I hated it.
Not for me. Yeah, it's
not
definitely
for
not a game
me.
for me. Yeah.
Right? Not for you. But it's obviously for somebody, so there's that. The other thing is, look at Grand Theft Auto 6. We haven't gotten a Grand Theft Auto in now 8 years. It's
Maybe
going
longer.
to be minimum from what we're hearing is that it could be another 3 or 4 years down the road. So you're talking like 12 years before we get another one. Why aren't they doing it? Is because they're making so much money off of the GTA Online. They don't have to. They
have officially sold 145 million copies, and it hasn't even released for the PlayStation 5 and Series X yet.
Right.
And they made more money on Grand Theft Auto Online last year than any year since the game launched. And it's that old. And they made more money on GTA Online last year. It's insane.
Right. So think about where Ubisoft is sitting right now from a business perspective. They're saying, what's the point? So they're looking at you got the Division making money. Okay. And it did make money. It did well. You've got Rainbow Six making money. You've got Assassin's Creed, whether people love it or whether they hate it. And it's funny, Asante brought up something kind of funny. He's like, I kind of didn't want to do it. I kind of got tired of it, but he still put 200 hours in. What does that tell you? It's like crack. Okay. It's
Indeed.
like, I'm not addicted. But you keep putting it in you.
I can stop anytime I want.
Yeah, I can stop anytime I want. No, you can't. Assassin's Creed Valhalla broke every Assassin's Creed record to date. Now, the other thing that's interesting is look at this fall. Now, we have the beta for this coming out August 5th, if I'm not mistaken, correct? I will be playing it sooner. Now I got to be careful about what I say because I am a Ubisoft game tester. So I'm going to kind of tiptoe around this, but it's interesting that the beta's coming out early and they did not give a release date, but that I think a couple of months of tweaking this and that, I think we might see it by late fall, early winter. Okay. Now, if you look at the landscape, the gaming landscape of what's coming out this fall, my God, it is a first-person shooter's paradise / hell.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going up against Halo Infinite.
Well, it's not just that, Asante. There's a laundry list. Okay.
First, there is a laundry list indeed.
You've got Halo, free to play. You've got Apex Legends. They're going to come out with a new season right in the middle of all this. Yep. You got Warzone, which they're going to have they're going to have a big update before the fall, right? Because from what we're hearing, there's a lot. There's some trouble behind the scenes with the next Call of Duty mainline game, right?
Yeah.
So what better way to mask that than putting a whole map on Warzone, a couple of tweaks, make it big and shiny, so that everybody forgets that this new Call of Duty might be a convoluted mess. You've got that. You've got Back for Blood coming. You've got Fortnite with a new season coming. Okay, you've got Battlefield 2042 coming.
Yeah,
which is tracking massive.
Yes,
this is going to be a mess, right? So now the thing is, either this thing is going to do well because it's free to play, or everybody's just going to completely forget about it, like the Cliffy B games. Because what's going to happen is you've got all these other big time games coming. And it's going to be interesting where these games end up. Now, the thing is, I think, for example, Battlefield 2042, like we said before, going up against all these free-to-play titles, including this new one, Defiant, okay? I think that they're going to be dead in the water unless, I know people don't like when I say that, unless it goes into Game Pass day one or very shortly after, they're going to have a major problem. But that's a whole other situation.
Yeah, I think Battlefield's going to be massive.
I think it will.
I think it's going to be massive.
Can you imagine?
Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Can you imagine the Can you imagine the competition though? When you've got
competition, that is very true. The competition is absurd this year. It is crazy.
And Benji, half of those are free to play.
Yes.
Yeah. So the question for Battlefield for me is definitely going to be legs. Launch is going to be ridiculous. How big it's going to be. But yeah, the question is, does it have any legs?
Right. And the thing is,
probably going to be the biggest EA game in years for them.
Yes, but when you got that paywall in front of you, a lot of people, especially in the fall season, how the fall season is. The fall season is like September to December is like Christmas for us. It's like a new gift every week. If it wasn't for Game Pass, everybody'd be broke right now. Okay, we don't know what Sony's up to. I'm sure they're gonna have a show in August or whatever the hell they're doing. And then you've got all the stuff coming in Game Pass. You've got all these free to play going on, and then in the middle of it, you drop this Defiant.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the fence of where this is going to, if it's going to do well. People will give it a shot. I don't see why not. I mean, it is Ubisoft at the end of the day. They're still a worldwide brand that does really, really well. Not really well. They're doing incredibly well. And because of that, people might give it a shot. But the thing is, at the same time, like I said before about Rainbow Six started off okay. And then it started to build. Look at another game like Sea of Thieves. Started off okay, and then all of a sudden it's crossing 10 million players plus on a fairly regular basis, right? So this could be something. Nobody gave Fortnite a chance. Nobody. And I know it because I've been listening to podcasts for years and years and years before I grabbed the mic myself. Okay, and people didn't give Fortnite a chance, and look what it did now. This could be. I know. Put some laugh emojis in the chat, folks, because this might be the next Fortnite. You don't know until it's in people's hands. Benji said it earlier about being polarizing.
Right. They really did do that. They really did turn around some of their other IPs, and it took a while too. But they really did do it. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
But the thing is, Ubisoft has patience. You know why they have patience? Because they have the money to. They have the money to be patient. So Benji was saying something earlier about this game being very, very polarizing, at least from the reveal. It'll continue to be polarizing until it is in people's hands. Once you play it, the key to all of this, never mind all the blabbering that I've done for the last 5 minutes, but the thing is, at the end of the day, until it gets into people's hands, okay, when they get their hands on those controllers or on those mouses and on those keyboards or on whatever the device they're going to be playing on, until that happens. So that is the key. The key is they're going to have to nail gameplay and make it engaging for gamers. Beyond that, and I'm sorry, Boom, that I've been tiptoeing around this because I can't really talk too much about it.
Right? No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know why. So I'm just kind of giving you an overview of what I think may or may not happen. But at the end of the day, it's all about Ubisoft's performance in the game, and at the same time, then that's going to translate into how gamers react to it, especially in an extremely competitive fall season.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I can say is that first impressions in gaming, maybe not so much in real life, but in gaming, definitely gamers remember. They certainly do. When you first saw and played Apex Legends, you were like, whoa, this is special. This is the next iteration of what free-to-play games need to be completely out of left field, no fluff, no nothing, just here it is, play it, do you like it, whatever.
You know, the other thing, Boom, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother, but
right.
they also didn't, they just kind of shadow dropped it, did they not?
Yep.
Yes.
Didn't they just
Apex
say, by
was
the way,
like a
it's out
shadow
today?
drop. Yeah.
Shadow dropped and played like Titanfall. So
Yeah.
already
Yeah,
had
and I mean, I remember it, they just said, yeah, it's out now.
Mhm.
Well, what do you mean now? Like, there was nothing. So maybe that also subverts expectation as well. So I don't know. I'm sorry. It's kind of like a little bit of a thing, you know, like maybe they, you're right about the first impressions. What I'm trying to get at is that, you know, maybe with this first impression, maybe it didn't get everybody really on board or whatever. But like I said, now they're going to have to produce.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, again, I think what's going on here, and we're going to get Dutch's opinion, and we're going to move on to Asante's topic, is the fact that it's tracking poorly. I'm looking on the views, and
Views are low. I didn't tweet about it, but views are low.
Views
are broke.
I looked at it specifically. I said, let me wait a couple hours and see if it percolates. And the people don't care. No one is watching the next free-to-play Ubisoft game that's mosh pit inspired. I'm telling you, folks. Real quick, got to shout out a good friend of this show, Special Nick from the Xbox era is in our chat. Nick,
Hey.
What's up, brother? And
Nice.
folks, if you didn't know, I will be guest appearing on their Saturday show on the 24th. I'm very excited. I think what they're doing over at Xbox Era is tremendous. And I think that, again, it's in my list that I listen to their show each and every week. One Bad Mother, as a matter of fact, is going to be joining us next Monday. He's a writer over at Xbox Era. I can't wait to hang out with these guys. And John, of course, who is the host of the show. I can't wait to be over there tomorrow to get their take and hopefully even maybe get privy to some behind the scenes news that only Nick knows, because obviously he knows things. But Dutch, we got to get your opinion on this. Listen, when I say Ubisoft, I think of what really resonated with me last generation, and specifically it's Splinter Cell. I'm not Splinter Cell. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I have 19 days in that game, folks. So
Odyssey was so good.
So just do the math. 19 times 24 tells you how much time I put into that game. Now, I completely fell off a cliff with Valhalla. Didn't like it. I tried to get into it. It just, I don't know, man. It did not resonate with me the way the Roman stuff did. I don't know why that is.
They did the Vikings wrong. I hear you.
Yeah, maybe.
Come on,
But
guys.
again, this is one of those moves. Now, what's concerning, Dutch, is prior to this announcement, we had heard that the next Assassin's Creed is going to be free to play, right? And they kind of backed off on it. They kind of went silent on that because they obviously, the people were kind of upset. Like, whoa, it's like free to play. Am I going to get my story driven stuff, or am I going to get a free to play crap that is I'm going to have to buy skins for? And now you put this out there, and you kind of wonder which Ubisoft is this? Because this is not the Ubisoft from last gen. This is, and again, it's a business. We get it. We understand it's a business. But man, they seem to have really changed direction, and I think that it could be in a fairly bad way. What are your thoughts on this reveal of X-Defiant?
Well, first of all, to Benji's and Mag's point, it is going to be either a massive hit or an absolute cluster F. I'm going to finish that one off.
That's where I'm at.
Primarily, there's two ways these arena shooters go, and they're very highly focused on core FPS shooters on Twitch and streaming sites. If the likes of Shroud and if the likes of those big multiplayer shooters online play that game and they hate it and they stop playing it, and that streaming dips down, it's gone.
Yeah.
There is no resurrecting that game. You seen what happened with PUBG? PUBG's still going, but are their numbers anywhere near what they used to be?
Nope.
Hell no.
No.
You know why that is? Because the likes of Shroud, etc., said this game's just not fun anymore. We're just not digging it anymore. They dropped off straight away. Unfortunately, or fortunately, if you get within that little click where they continuously play that game on their stream, continuously, it's spreading the word. More players are playing it. More people are talking about it. They're seeing the streams, they're seeing the clips, so on and so forth. It resonates within players. The other side of it is seeing Ubisoft go down this thing of, right, we need to get into this free-to-play section, make this quick money that we've seen the likes of Call of Duty and Apex Legends and things like that start to build up on. We want a piece of that pie. It disheartens me, however, to see an abundance of Tom Clancy material in his wealth of books and material that he's built up throughout his entire career just literally thrown to the side, ignored entirely, and then they make this. Like, you've got so much potential avenue to go down with his material that you could choose to make something really exciting and brand new in the world of Tom Clancy. Instead, you stick his name on it, make some generic arena shooter, and then just push it out. And that's this is what to Boom was saying. It's Ubisoft are starting to really lose their core of what they used to be, and are just kind of losing track of what made them in the first place.
Yes.
It's hard. Again, it's going to be either a big hit or a big miss, and that's primarily down to how it personally, how that takes on the Twitch gaming community, whether or not those big streamers resonate with it, and whether or not they continue to stream it consistently for the first opening few months, is whether or not that's going to gain traction. If they play that, and if Doc, etc., are just like loving it or hating it or just literally panning that on stream, that is going to go down in the dirt. It's as simple as that. It's not for me. As soon as I see it, and then the audacity to put a Splinter Cell-esque character right on the front image.
Oh man,
it's insult to injury for sure.
Ooh, Jesus!
They should make Michael Ironside the voice of it. You know,
can you imagine?
That would be devastating. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Dutch. I find the use of Tom Clancy's name in a game like that almost downright disrespectful. That I understand it's a business and they're paying for that, but considering of what Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon, those always had real powerful stories within the Tom Clancy game that they were selling us. And
even Rainbow Six now is not what it was.
No,
it isn't anywhere near what it was. It's still a really good shooter. But is it anything to do with the Rainbow Six universe that Tom Clancy created?
No, not at all.
Nothing to do with what he created in the first place. It is entirely separate from, completely left of what he originally envisioned and what the original Rainbow Six on PC. Whoever played the originals, that game was tough as nails.
Fantastic.
Like, those terrorists would literally one-shot you in the head if you turned the corner wrong, and that was that. These days, no, it isn't the same. They're losing track of things, but unfortunately, because in some respects, like Mag mentioned, Rainbow Six has still got a huge player base. It took a while to get up to that, but they're a very dedicated player base, a very dedicated community. That's still doing well.
Oh, it's one of the biggest in the world. Yeah, one of the biggest shooters in the world.
Ghost Recon's lost its way, like the original Ghost Recon and Advanced Warfighter, brilliant. And then again, Wildlands, really good. Breakpoint,
terrible.
I
Yeah,
heard.
it literally took them a year
that.
to add your 3 other comrades.
Yeah,
to something that was standard fare when Wildlands came out. You were able to, run around with 3 of your buddies, or of course you could play with the bots controlled by the computer, which I did mostly, and it was fantastic. This over here took almost a year to get that. Again, I don't know what's going on. There's certainly been a lot of leadership change in regards to like sexual harassment stuff that went on at that company. that might have moved a lot of people. And there's unfortunately there is a lot going on at Ubisoft, and I hate to say it, man. They're one of those companies that were the holy grail of gaming, at least in my opinion, and have completely fallen off a cliff in regards to quality control. It's terrible. But you know,
I think it's more. It's not even just quality control now. I think they've just got used to just pumping out titles. Like, again, much like Call of Duty does. Like, are they really refining their game if they're making a game that's coming out literally every year? Like, how can you actually advance in a game where you just 1 year's not enough to kind of really make any actual substantial refinements to a title? I think anybody in gaming knows that. If you play, for instance, the Grand Theft Auto, as much as we hate the fact that it's like once a decade, you might get the next iteration. At least the jump from 4 to 5 was substantial.
Yeah.
The jump from 3 to 4
point.
was substantial. Call of Duty, the jump from one to another is just a different setting, but the same stuff, and the mechanics are often still broken when you play the balancing issues are still prevalent in every one of them, and then they've got to spend the first 6 months ironing those balancing issues out. So for me, it's a case of some of these companies just need to take a step back and go, right, okay, well, we're not going to pump out another Assassin's Creed the year after. We're not going to just pump out another Tom Clancy game the year after. Step back, take 3-4 years out, say, right, okay, the next Assassin's Creed is going to be in 4 years' time, and we're going to actually refine the game properly. They're just so focused on rolling out titles to make quick money and things like that they're just losing track of what it's all about in the first place.
Just to clarify, by the way, that free-to-play Assassin's Creed is not part of the mainline story. By the way, they are developing an actual a single-player story. Besides that, like they're still going to do the main storyline one, and then this one's just sort of an experiment on the side.
Yeah, again, it just, but what it does is that it just piles on top of negativity that you get when you talk about free to play games that look as bad as this.
Yeah,
and you're expecting that. Well, if you're a fan of free to play games, the next single player story driven title is going to potentially look and play, because again, not all free-to-play games are terrible looking. Apex Legends is a perfect example of that. That game looks next gen, but look, all I know is that this is very disappointing. This is not how I expected to start the show, but we had to talk about it because it is literally relevant news. I do want to move on to topic number 2, but that topic is going to be Asante, who's going to be taking over host for a moment while he reads this, because it's a very relevant topic. It's something that's super important. I think it's super relevant because it's been a hot button topic where emotions have seriously got involved. But real quick, I have to thank Flame for not one but 2 super chats. The first one comes in at $2. He says, Ubisoft be like Splinter Cell who? Never heard of it. And indeed, that in fact is the case. We also have Flame drops a second $5 super chat and says, I'd like to provide an antidote to the jury. Splitgate is exploding regardless of what else is out right now. Sadly, we are not the audience, another is. Yeah, you know what? I hear you on that, and I wouldn't disagree with you. What I will say is this is no Splitgate. This is what looks to be chopped up from the cutting room floor, thrown together in a game that looks awful. The shooting looks awful, and like I said, don't have your producer come on the air and say it's mosh pit inspired. That's not what I think about when I think of Tom Clancy. Sorry. I don't know.
That's the part that really got you, huh? I can tell.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm like, like I said, I wasn't sure whether I was watching a Tom Clancy game or a new Jet Set Radio with guns. I wasn't sure. But you know what?
I get the point though, because I am still open to the idea this could be a massive hit. I'm telling you, it could. Benji, it could. That's why I said it's gonna go one of 2 ways, and I'm not really sure which one. Because here's the thing: if it plays good, like these people like Shroud and stuff, they don't care about Splinter Cell. They just don't care about like the past in terms of like that connection. So if they play it and they love it, and they're telling their massive amount of viewers to play it. it could take off. Now, I personally am more apprehensive. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to do well, but it could. The potential is there.
You know, Benji, you mentioned that. Sorry, I know we're going to move to the next topic, but I'm just going to be very quick here. My kids watch, what's that guy's name? Slogo Man on YouTube. And he plays, he's a English, British, like young kid, basically. And he plays Fortnite, stuff like that. And he also plays games like Gang Beasts, whatever. He's still getting 140 million views playing Gang Beasts.
It's crazy.
That game is terrible.
Yeah.
You know what happened? My kids came to me and said, Daddy, do we have Gang Beasts? And actually, funny enough, it was in Game Pass. And I said, holy mackerel, it's in Game Pass. They downloaded it. They can't stop playing it. Now they're playing it with all the neighbors' kids, this and that, whatever. And it took off because one guy started playing it with his friends on YouTube, not Twitch. He's not a Twitch streamer. He is strictly YouTube. But this guy gets 140.
Becoming big for that now. It's becoming big for that.
Dude, the guy's getting 140 million views
Crazy.
on Fortnite and Gang Beasts. This guy is unbelievable. Slogo Man. Or else he plays Minecraft or whatever, right? But anyway, the point is, if one of these guys latches onto it, just like you're saying, Benji.
It's all it takes.
It's all it takes, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again,
one of the really big ones, not like necessarily like the small streamers, but if you can get a couple that really like it, right? You can't get them to play it for a week and then bounce off. They got to really like the game. But if you can get these big streamers consistently playing it, I mean, you never know. For me, it doesn't really look like a game that's speaking to me, but who knows? Who knows? It could blow up.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, certainly only time is going to tell. And I think you're onto something. Either it's going to hit big or it's going to completely flop. I think the latter. That's just my opinion, but I'm not an industry guy, so what the hell do I know? I'm just a knucklehead with the microphone. Asante, please take over the show and let's talk about your topic. Topic number 2.
Yeah, well, this is an evergreen topic. It returns every time From Software releases a game. This time it came from a very unlikely source. So let's get the timeline out of the way before we get into the discussion. Yeah. So in preparation for the Psychonauts 2 release, you have Double Fine releasing dev diaries constantly on their YouTube channel. The latest one they showed off was more extensive accessibility features, including invincibility mode. Nothing surprising. Invincibility mode was also in Ratchet and Clank. So just to help those who need it. During the promotion of this dev diary, Microsoft tweeted out in support, saying things like, if you beat a game on the lowest difficulty, you've basically beaten the game. That was followed up. Here's where it gets interesting. It was followed up by somebody from Fanbyte, a writer from Fanbyte, who says, well, I only ever play games on easy mode to beat them, and that will never change. Some folks heard that and thought that might have rubbed folks a little wrong. And then the conversation really got started when Colin Moriarty, as we know who Colin is, tweeted the following. And this is a quote: "If you can't or won't beat a game on anything other than harder than easy, and you're reviewing it from a reviewer's perspective and giving the review of an average player, then your criticism is worthless. Seek out critics who actually like video games. This is all getting a little trite." That's what seemingly kicked the ball off here. Now, the internet exploded into like really heated debate, discussing the merits of difficulty levels in general, why we have these features, who they're for, and some whose opinion is basically folks need to get good, quote unquote, right? Now, my opinion on it, as far as from the reviews perspective, if you're reviewing a game, I think that all aspects, all the features of the game need to be reviewed, right? Not just the difficulty level, but all the aspects of the game. And most folks don't play the game just in one mode. There are multiple modes, things like that. So all those things would have to be taken into consideration. Now, depending on the type of game you're talking about, where maybe there's priority paid over story versus gameplay, if you at that point want to play easy mode, that might suffice, right? But it still needs to be on a game by game basis, and I also think it needs to be disclosed, right? In the review any way you want to do it.
I do like that. Yeah. Say what difficulty you beat it on.
That's right. Beyond that, to those who always say get good, I think they need to remember that the features that are being made here aren't for most of us, right? They're for the few of us who have these disabilities, and without them, we have to make certain concessions for them to be able to enjoy it as well. In many cases, this is the only way they can actually enjoy the hobby that we enjoy all the time, right? So all the internet gatekeeping and judging seems very inappropriate and kind of insulting to those who need these features to play, right? So I guess my question to the panel about all this is, how do you feel about reviewers only reviewing on easy mode, and what are your thoughts on the broader discussion related to accessibility and who it's for and all of that? So I guess we'll start with the man of the show, Mr. Boomstick. How about you? How do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, first of all, fantastic topic, brother, and thank you for writing it. I think that it is a relevant conversation. I think that this conversation has two different heads on this beast. From the reviewer point of view, now if you kept up with the thread, Colin Moriarty, who I am a fan of, came back and reiterated what he meant. And he talked about in his I don't want to say fix, in more of a clarification for what he was saying, wasn't it, because it was originally taken out of context for people with disabilities. How dare you play this game on on easy if you're missing a hand, God forbid, or something like that. And that's not what he meant. He probably should have been a little bit, and he's a very intelligent man. I will tell you that. I haven't had a chance to work with him yet. I'm hoping to get him on the show eventually one day. What he meant was for the reviewing community, right? Now, again, if you are someone that is disabled and plays a game on anything, as a matter of fact, there is a particular person I actually commented on that's on the Noof Nukem podcast on Sunday mornings. That clearly, and I don't want to shout the guy out because I don't want to give the guy, to have people, blast him whether they disagree or agree. And I came to his defense in a big way because he had put out there that he was getting a lot of slack from the community. Like, folks, grow the up already, please. I mean, this is a person with a disability. How effing dare you tell this man how he should play his game? Like, you have to be effing insane. And he got a lot of slack from the community. Of course, I came into his defense immediately because I don't like that bully shit. I'm sorry, I won't stand for it. Whether it involves me or not, I got to get involved because I guess that's ex popo coming to play. I can't take it. Listen, he felt the need to clarify. Well, I didn't say I was gonna play it, but I'm saying it's there if I need it. Well, I told him you shouldn't have to owe anybody an apology. You play the game how you intend you want to play the game. Now, for the reviewing community, well, that is a horse of another color. And there is also a bunch of factors that go into this. If you get a game 2 weeks before its street date release, like a lot of the companies do, you should, in my humble opinion, at least play it on normal so you can get what the developers intended most average people to be represented. I think that is why most games are already on normal, right? Not on easy, but normal. Because now you have the time. And, 14 days gives you plenty of time to, remember, you're playing extensive hours, you're writing, you're playing, you're writing, you're going back and forth. That is no easy task. I've done it, folks. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. But you have the time to do it. Now, am I going to discount someone's review who got the code 3 days before the game drops and they're playing it on easy to kind of run through the game? I mean, I listen, again, folks, it's a business, right? It is a business. So they have to do their job. But I will say that, in my opinion, the average player is expected to play said game on normal, and that is the difficulty that most developers put there as the standard for the best experience. Now, if you played on easy, good on you. If you played on ultra hard, even better for you. I don't know what to tell you, but I think there really is a very defining line that runs down this conversation between someone who is disabled and actually needs these easy modes to enjoy it, because again, their enjoyment is paramount, right? Their experience is supposed to be put at the forefront. If they want to try it on normal, by all means, the opportunity is there for them to try and play a game in normal. But if it becomes too difficult, then they go and they play it on easy, and who cares? They're playing the game, they're enjoying themselves. As long as they're having fun, who the F cares? Yeah. But for a reviewer, I think that, look, this is going to come off as maybe me being full of shit, and I'm not. There is a very different media type these days, and I'm not. Listen, I'm an older guy. I'm 50 years old, folks. I'll be 51 in September, so I'm a little long in the tooth. But my opinion on today's writers certainly are not as good as the the EGMs and the video game magazines and the Diehard Gamers and Gamers Republic that I read hard copies. I had the physical copies of these books because that's all they sold them. I really appreciated those writers back then. I think there are a lot, and not everyone, because you don't want to put everybody under an umbrella. There's a lot of lazy gaming media types that are doing it for a job, but they don't want to put the actual work, and it's not everyone. So if you are one of these lazy writers that kind of just want to get the review in for your clicks for the article that you wrote and you're playing it on easy, well, that's a problem. That's a problem. But someone had said something before we went to this. I think it was you, Asante. Maybe when you write your review, you should say, "Hey,
disclose it." That's right.
Disclosure.
Yeah.
Game played on X difficulty. I think that's right. Fan-freaking-tastic, to be honest with you.
The reason why I actually put that in there is because since this, in researching this topic and hearing what's going on online and everything else, there are some very interesting community members who represent the diversity and the accessibility community. Steven Spawn and a few other folks that do some really good work in that area, and that's what they bring up. They find a review in easy mode or very easy still useful because that may still be too hard for certain people, right? So there is a use for it. It is useful to say, hey, I played it on easy, I did it this way. I do agree with Colin on this one as well, because the way she came off with it was a little bit too arrogant.
I would say arrogant,
a little bit of and so as much as you want to run to her defense, because clearly the person who tweeted in no way, shape, or form had as much power as the person who retweeted, which blew up her spot clearly. So you first want to go to her defense and say, "Oh, she must be innocent in this." But then you read what she wrote, and you're just like,
a little arrogant.
Next time you may want to calibrate it differently. But I believe that there's room for all of them as long as you disclose, right? Even folks who don't have disabilities. You want to play with easy mode? You want to play with cheats on? Do you, man? It doesn't mean that the other dude who's playing hard mode it makes it any less for them. I do agree on the flip side of it, and myself and Everborn have had this conversation, and he did put the bug in my ear, which he makes a point. Gamers of a certain age, we're in the 40s, you're in the 50s. Gamers of a certain age, we remember when difficulty levels gives you character. It takes you a while to knock it back, but when you do, it's something you'll remember forever. I get all that. And that still can stand.
Kid Icarus comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. Kid Icarus comes to mind. For me, it's Ninja Gaiden comes to mind.
Oh man,
Ninja Gaiden, ridiculous.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
And if you're older like me, you remember getting up early, playing before school, and dying like 1,000 times. But you got somewhere where you pressed pause and your NES stayed on while you were at school. Because you can come back.
Your mom shuts it off. Oh Lord,
listen, she's done it more times than I want to admit. But yes, absolutely. But great, dude. I hope I answered the question. That was fantastic.
Indeed.
Please, by all means, continue.
Oh yes, and I guess we will switch to our guest. Benji, what are your thoughts on this? And it's an important topic, as Boom has correctly pointed out. Because of maybe the person who retweeted it, because of the inflammatory nature, folks started conflating a lot of the accessibility community's concerns with just the general reviewers. By and large, when you separate them, it seems like it's a more straightforward issue. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it is one of those that's kind of complex because there are so many layers to it, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about different things. We're talking about reviews, we're talking about player experiences, we're talking about potentially developer obligations, how much accessibility do you want to make sure is in your game, or developer vision for something like From Software where they don't believe in difficulty modes. There's just like so many layers to it. Colin's always been really nice to me. He's been very supportive of me, actually, and he's mentioned me on Sacred Symbols and stuff before, which is crazy, but he's always been super, super nice to me. My stance on this, I think you kind of hit it a home run whenever you said, just be honest about what difficulty you played on in your review. Everyone, at the end of the day, like, video games are entertainment, and not everyone wants to play hard. Like, some people, even without disabilities, they just want an easy mode. They just want to be able to go through a game, not have that extreme challenge. And to them, an easy mode review could be valuable. I think that, that's spot on. Just be very upfront, be honest, say, hey, I reviewed this game on easy difficulty, or I reviewed this game on the hardest difficulty. That way people have context around what you're saying, Oh, sorry. Was there some music just playing?
No, that was me. I was moving the stuff and I didn't mute it.
I was going to start dancing. I didn't know what was going on.
Whoa, man, we're getting that.
That was all me.
So on the reviewer side of things, I don't necessarily think it's wrong to review a game on easy. I just think you need to be very clear if you're playing a game on easy, that is stated up front in your review, because you could, potentially, if you're not being upfront about it, mislead people about how challenging a game is or not. So you'd want to be very, very honest about that. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is when people say that From Software really needs to force easy modes into their games. At the end of the day, I think they're the creators, that it's their vision. They can do whatever they want with it. I'll be honest, there's From Software games I've beaten, and there's ones I've never beaten and I never will beat because I got hard stuck on it and I bounced. So, but
Cuphead is one of those games.
Yeah, but it is what
I cheated to beat it. I'll be honest.
I do think it's great whenever you see games like Ratchet and Clank and like what we're seeing with Psychonauts, where they have it super accessible, tons of different options. You saw The Last of Us do a ton of that. You've seen a lot of games really push, Microsoft with the accessibility controller. I think that's all amazing. Yeah. I'm all for all of that. But at the same time, I also don't love when people are like super aggressive about someone like From Software, and they're saying, you're wrong for not having multiple tiers of difficulties and stuff. You do have to also conflate that in a way games are entertainment, but they're also art, right? There's this weird juxtaposition between the two. And, From Software doesn't want an easy mode in their game. I think it's okay for them to not have it. But it's a complex topic. It's all over the place, right?
That just goes with Benji. That just goes with not every game is for every gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Very true.
And I do feel super sympathy for someone that does get hard stuck on it or isn't accessible to play it, right? I'm not saying that they are wrong for feeling that way. Like I said, there's been From Software games, that I straight up, I just can't beat it. So it is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, that's the game they wanted to make, and they know that is going to turn some people away from it. And it is what it is. But I'm also all for favor of as many accessibility options and easy modes as there possibly can be.
I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. Myself and Everborn, we were actually having a chat when we had a chat about this. We hypothesized maybe not obviously not forcing, because forcing is never the way, right? You want the artist or the team making the game to bring out their vision, but possibly whether it be a unified industry standard, whether it be on PlayStation and Xbox and wherever else, and say these are the minimum standards that we wish to champion, and we advocate that you use this. If you don't have the resources, we'll give you resources to add it in if that's something you choose. Promote it rather than force it, so that it, and under more of the guise of letting more people play because of the accessibility nature of it, that might standardize things across the board. It is what it is. It's not easy, because the minute anybody says anything about this stuff, then there are those who come and get, stop being a baby. It becomes a difficult conversation. Mag, what are your thoughts on this? I'm sure you have thoughts.
Just a couple. when it comes to the reviewers, yes, they should. I don't think that it's absolutely necessary that they need to finish whatever game they're reviewing on, the hardest mode out there. I don't think that that's absolutely necessary to get, the idea, the concept, the story, and of course the gameplay loop and everything else. You can get all that on a lesser difficulty. Now saying that, there are nuances in a harder mode that do change the dynamic of the game. Okay, like for example, like when I played Last of Us 2, I know what I like to do is when I play a game, I'll play on normal first, right? Just so I can get like a lay of the land, right? So I can, I understand what I'm getting at, what I'm getting into, all that kind of stuff, right? And then if the game really grabs me, and it usually does, like if I'm, I am very particular with my games. And if the game grabs me and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go back and play it a little bit more on the harder, on the survival difficulty or whatever, right? And that adds a whole lot more to me, because then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, okay, now I really have to strategize every single room that I walk into or every single area. So now what I find, I like to do that. I'm a problem solver in real life. I like to problem solve in my gaming. So I will literally sit back and I will analyze an entire section of a game and say, all right, I'm going to shoot a crossbow through Jimmy's face, and then I'm going to crawl over here, then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to grab, whoever's pants and pull them down over here, and then I'm going to do this. Hopefully this happens, right? You know what I'm saying? And then, but you have to nail it perfect, right? And so that adds a whole new aspect to it. Now, in terms of being a reviewer, there's no need for that. Now, the thing is, I've actually seen a lot of reviewers who play the game. They don't say what level they play it on, but they do make mention, and you got to admit, if you read a lot of reviews, okay, like I do, they do say in the review somewhere, it might only be a sentence, might be 2 sentences, whatever, and they'll say, on the harder difficulties, it adds blah, 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 blah. So that they've at least, that they at least taste tested it. Okay, so they probably now the other thing is you got to look at time constraints too. A lot of these reviewers don't get these games like 2 months in advance, and they get the poor, 319 days like boom on Odyssey. They don't have 19 days. They might have 5. They might have 6. And
very common.
They also have to eat. They also have to sleep. They also have to go to the bathroom. They also have to, deal with their family. Like, they got stuff to do too, right?
Come on, casual gamer.
Come on, man. It's like making truck drivers drive 19 hours a day, right? Ridiculous, like, they stopped all that. So, but anyway, the point is, it's like you could get through the game on whatever difficulty. If you, and get through the game, get through the story, you understand the game loop itself, the graphics, everything, the music, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, you can go back and you could play like maybe one day, maybe one of the days you could go back and play whatever. But I don't think it's necessary for someone who's reviewing Resident Evil Village that, he has to go back 6 times and then he has to play it with a can opener dressed in a geisha outfit or something stupid like that. Like, how they have these stupid things like, 30 achievement points or whatever, a gold trophy. Finish Resident Evil with a can opener dressed up as a hooker. Like, come on, man. They don't need to do that. All the information that they got, you've already gotten. It's like, when you sit down, you play a game, within the first few hours exactly what you got. You know what you got. You know the gist of it. You know that the graphics are going to be good. Sound design, score, everything. The gameplay, frames, all that kind of story. You're going to get all that in the first few hours. The fact that they finished the game entirely, I don't think that difficulty has anything to do with it. And I think that people arguing about it is ridiculous. My one problem with reviewers, especially now, and this is something that an old man would say, which I am, and boom, I would imagine you agree with me, is that these reviewers learn grammar first. Or why don't you learn some grammar and spelling? When I have to correct 90% of your article, learn how to write first, then worry about the difficulty of the game. That's what I got to say. That's the old man right here talking. But anyways, besides all that, as for the players, okay, you brought up Cerebral Paul. He's actually a good friend. He's a good friend of mine. I speak to him we speak to each other all the time. I actually messaged him earlier today too. And accessibility for someone like that, he's not going to be able to play some of the games, whatever. He's very open about it.
Yes.
And he says, I just can't do this game. I can't play this game. I have physical limitations, whatever. So why should he be excluded from a certain experience? Right? If he wants to go and play on the easiest mode possible, whatever, because he wants to enjoy the game, however he wants to enjoy it, then that is entirely up to him. That's nobody else's business how or why he does 100%. It. Yes. And anybody else who's in the same boat. But there are also people who just don't have time. Like, for example, someone brought up Cuphead. I think it was Boom. Boom brought up Cuphead. I have not finished Cuphead. You know why?
Dude, I only got to the second island. I can't stand
it. I cheated on the last boss because I just had to do it. I was just like, I'm done. I cheated.
Good on you that you cheated.
I had
Good
to do
for
it.
You, man.
I had to do it because I was like, screw this. I do not want to break another controller. I broke a controller.
I wish I could give you an achievement for cheating. You know what? I would give you one.
Like a minus achievement, like minus 50 for cheating. But the thing is, like, you look at a game like Cuphead, and I thought that was probably one of the most brilliant concepts of a game I've ever seen. Like, to bring back 1930s animation, hand drawn, all the work that went into it. Well, I never got to complete the damn game because it was too hard. And I want somebody in the comment section to say, get good. Well, guess what? Get a job, okay? Because not all of us have 16 hours a day.
Oh, some of us have children.
The cupcake monster. Okay? Like, I don't have all day to fight, Mr. Popcorn Man and all this other stuff. Like some people just want to be able to play the game, enjoy it, move on from the experience. Now, I understand games like From Software. I avoid them because it's not actually about the difficulty, funny enough. What pisses me off about those games is that there's no map. Or like they make you learn the
little thing. Absolutely no idea where you're going.
You have no idea where you're going. Give me a waypoint. Put an arrow. Do something. Like, I can't stand that stuff. Another one that really pisses me off is that the Star Wars one. What's it called? The one that just came out like 2 years ago.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah.
That map. Okay, I actually wanted to email
that is
them
its own
and say,
difficulty
if you guys
level,
make a map like that again, I'm going to find you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, just give me a waypoint. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. But people can avoid those things. It's you got a company like From Software, and actually, it was Asante who said it about artistic vision. At the end of the day, a video game is not just a video game; it's a work of art.
Yes.
And Boom, that I do stuff like this with my the Pulse music stuff that I do, and we realize that that's why we wanted to showcase that it is an art form. This is something. Why is this any different than a person who spent thousands of hours painting a canvas? It's no different. These guys spend thousands of hours making interactive entertainment. So if it is their vision at the same time, so you see how this is very multifaceted.
Yeah, it is. It's a complicated topic.
It's very complicated. Benji, you were saying that earlier. Is that if that is their vision and it's not something that jives with you or connects with you on any kind of a level, then you move on from it.
Yeah.
Not everything, like Boom said, not every game is made for every gamer. And the thing is, not everything is made. Like, do you go and watch every movie that comes out in the theater or on Netflix?
No.
You skip, you go, and then you go to the next one, you look at it, you're like, Victorian love story, and you'll skip it, and then you'll see, Fear Street, people stabbing each other. Perfect.
Right? This weekend. Fantastic.
Right.
Trilogy.
And so, exactly. So you see what I'm saying? Like, what I'm saying is that if the From Software game is not for you because, the culture around that game is the difficulty, right?
Yes.
Great. Then if you don't want to play, if you want to play it, go right ahead. If you don't want to play it, move on. But don't think that there's any kind of there is an entitlement problem in this community. And a lot of people think that everything has to be made for them. That is not always the way it goes. So this is a hydra of a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
All these heads and there's really no, appropriate answer to it. It's just that there's miniature answers for each little for each little a subject, if you want to say, or like each little thing.
I completely agree.
You know what I'm saying? So like, there's a little bit of everything. I hope I gave you everything that you're looking for. I tried to give you as much as I could.
No, I appreciate it. What I will say, my only part while going through all this, my only part that I wish folks would better understand is while we debate come on, man, you can do better. The reviewers should review this and review that. I will say, to your point, Mag, Halo. If you don't play Halo at its at least semi-hardest or hardest difficulty, you've missed like 60% of that game.
Heroic.
Yeah, really
I think heroic's the sweet spot. Heroic
and it's not only just the difficulty as far as the flanking or whatnot. They say different things. They swear a different way. There are parts in the game where I think I actually even screenshotted, recorded it, and put it on the net, where they're like having a banjo contest and singing and never heard it on the normal. There's some Easter eggs in there that you won't see if you don't at least test those waters. So I agree with you on that. Where I have a bit of an issue is when these things come back up. It seems like it opens the door for folks to get a little outlandish and not remember that some folks feel bad enough having to use those features to be able to be part of the conversation. And you speaking the way you do completely insults and disrespects them, So I feel like folks need to be a bit more cautious in their, you're a this if you use this, you're a that if you use this. You know what I'm saying?
Like, why do people
Not
care?
everybody can do that.
Like, why do people care what other people are doing for their enjoyment?
Exactly. And by saying those things, you're insulting people and you're making people feel bad who themselves have had a hard enough life as it is because they need those features just to play. That's a little bit where
I'll say something to be a little vulgar. Don't be a dick. How about that?
Well, the problem is there's a lot of them in this world,
Yeah.
And the thing is, people like to stick their fingers into everybody else's pies. Why don't you worry about your own pie?
Yep.
Okay, don't worry about what this guy's having over here. And this goes, not even to get into anything else, and I'm not going to, like whether it's like, sexual preference, politics, whatever else. What do you care what these people what these people are doing? They're happy. Let them be happy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that applies to gaming as well. If someone if this game makes somebody happy and they say something about it, and then some jerk online, right? And it's
Get good.
Yeah, what do you care, man? Let him or her or anybody, let them enjoy whatever they want to enjoy.
Take anything away from you, right? You know
what I mean? Like, it's not exactly. You know what? That you nailed it, Asante. Because I can't play Halo on the highest difficulty. I tried. Holy moly, that is tough.
Yeah, I need friends. I need friends to do that.
The correct way to play Halo is to play on the just under the highest difficulty single player.
That's what Andrew was saying. Heroic's the sweet spot.
And enjoy the game. And then after you beat it, you call up 3 buddies and you say, "Okay."
And then you go to
hardcore on legendary.
That's right.
Wear your Pampers because we're gonna be sitting here for 13 hours. Let's go. That's how it's done.
Dutch, take us home. What do you think, man? Come on.
As quite a few of you have mentioned, accessibility is such a wide topic to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's one I'm thankful I've had Gabby Mitchell, who helped create the accessibility controller, on the show before.
Awesome.
Also, very shortly, I'm going to have, and you might not have seen him yet, but he is an Xbox ambassador. He's also helped the coalition with some of their accessibility features. He's called Sightless Combat. He is a completely blind gamer.
Oh, wow.
Completely blind. But he's also a Twitch streamer. Believe it or not. He believes
that's impressive.
Gears of War Horde mode of one of his latest streams. He's headshotting people all over the place. Which is nuts. It makes me think I need to get good. He can't even see the screen and he's headshotting people. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I need to up my game. But he's, again, accessibility is such a wide and varied area. And the reason Colin got a little bit of a kickback from the community for his comment and why he needed to clarify in the first place wasn't specifically from just the normal community, because some of those accessibility or disabled reviewers picked up comments and said, okay, so my review is worthless then, is it? Because we're reviewing it on a certain difficulty level because we have to, because we're disabled. Some of them were just joking around with them in jest, and I think intentionally just poking the fun, but that's what, of course, and then other people didn't understand the way they were poking fun at his comments, and then took it seriously.
Opened the floodgates.
Opened the floodgates, of course. Some people took it the wrong way. Some people, after, of course, initially reviewing his comments, when I seen that bite-sized image before he went on to do a thread, I was thinking the same thing. I thought, oh, you can't gatekeep like that. Like, it's a bit too much. Then seeing the further thread saying, listen, this isn't about like gamers playing on easy difficulty levels. This is about
reviewers.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, of course, the one thing he didn't do at that particular stage was kind of highlight the fact that there are reviewers, and quite a few of them now, that review games for the accessibility market and how they play games, and how those games are for those with accessibility and how easy it is, etc. And as much as you might not realize it, but there are things that even From Software do to help with accessibility. It isn't anything to do with difficulty. And again, difficulty in a game like that should remain like that. That is the vision of the developer. Yeah. But there are still ways and means of helping people with disabilities to be able to at least try and play that game.
Yeah.
But again, it's just a very varied topic. Really, there shouldn't be a gatekeeping on what you want to play or how you want to play a game. If you want to play it on the easiest difficulty, go for it. That's fine. As people have mentioned, and it is a fact, higher difficulties on certain games unlock certain things that you don't get in other difficulties. And it's more of like an Easter egg, should we say, with little features that are put here and there to celebrate the fact that you're giving it a go on these harder difficulties. It's not to kind of take content away. It's more of a well done.
I will push back and say, if you haven't played on the hard difficulty, you've never seen Master Chief take his helmet off. And he does that on the hardest difficulty. Only one you'll see. Otherwise, he keeps his helmet on.
Yep.
There you go. For anybody who hasn't played on harder difficulty, go play Halo on the harder difficulty. He takes his head off at the end. There you go.
And there was
I completely agree with you, 100%.
Was it not on? Was it Halo 5 where the ending was entirely different?
Depending on the
special ending for Halo 5.
Yeah. They always,
Legendary. Yes.
Legendary. They always sneak in extra stuff at the ending.
Nope.
So you have.
But you're absolutely correct. It's not necessarily if you didn't see this, you didn't play the game. It's more a little enticing for those who choose to partake in that aspect. And more power to you. If you can't do it, you can't do it. If you can, there it is. It's for you. Exactly. Again, my only preface in all of this is not even Colin, because I think Colin was a straight shot in this. It's just the fact that door opened and folks started conflating those two things, and I think we all need to be more mindful of that stuff.
The lesson to be learned on this is just to be more clear with how you're saying your things in certain places, especially with a larger voice. When you've got a large voice like that, unfortunately, you need to be crystal clear about what you're saying.
You might need to read your thing before you hit send. Let somebody read it real quick before you hit that send button, because it might come back to bite you somewhere.
No doors left for interpretation. Unfortunately, the bigger the voice you get, the bigger that interpretation can be. If you say
that's 100% spot on.
And when it's in text form, it's even worse.
Yeah, no nuances in there. Yep. Yeah,
it is
100%,
the worst.
100%. So there we go. Boom, you can have your show back.
Listen, honestly, dude, this is something that we're going to be doing moving forward, folks. Obviously, there are a lot of people on this panel that are hosts of their own shows. So in the future, you're going to see this segment come back where I'm going to task, said, person on the panel to write a topic that they are passionate about. And we're going to let them take over as host for the topic. And I think that's important because everyone over here is a rock star, at least in my opinion. And I'd love to hear more from them than just answering my questions. But before we move on to the final topic of the night, which of course is the thumbnail, and we're talking about Sony, their fans, and Nixxes being the studio that could be bringing a ton of PlayStation exclusives to PC. I got to catch up on the super chats. And we're going to start first with Sir X-Man, good friend and generous friend of the show. He drops a $2 super chat and says, late super, but people still play Rainbow Six Vegas. I would love an HD remaster. I know I shouldn't say that, or even a new Rainbow Six. Vegas was my jam. I love those
games. Yeah, those games were fun.
And you know what's crazy?
There's two, right? Two
of those Vegas games. So good.
Remember, you could put your face in them?
And they were very, yes, you could You could
With
put
the
your face
Xbox
in those
camera.
cameras.
You could scan them.
You
Put your face
could.
on them. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Those were very reminiscent of a Tom Clancy story. There was a story behind what was going on, and we missed those days. Just like the old Ghost Recons, not the new ones. The old ones were fantastic on the 360. Our good friends from Down Under, Upspec Gaming, drops a very generous $8 super chat and says, "Great show, team." Now, if you don't know who Upspec Gaming is, this is someone that not only am I proud to support, but I endorse their product. They are the makers of the X screen coming out exclusively for the Xbox Series S. And it makes that a portable, somewhat of a portable thing. The screen looks absolutely fantastic. It closes and folds down perfectly on the Series S. And all you have to do is plug it in, tighten the screws, and you have your gaming screen. And all you have to do at that point is plug it into the wall. That's it. And I think it's an amazing product. Folks, their Kickstarter got filled and done in 20 minutes when it launched last week, and I couldn't be more prouder as a smaller content creator to support Upspec Gaming. And yes, I will in fact be reviewing it because they're going to be sending me one so I can do an unboxing and a review of their product. Totally looking forward to that.
Excellent.
So definitely go and check out Upspec
Microsoft should totally give them some credit because I have a Series X. I had no reason to buy an S. I saw the X screen. I now have a Series S.
There you go.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I 100% bought Little Man just to get that thing. I was just like so excited.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Yeah. So again, all of their information, folks, is in the show notes. If you want to get more, if you want to, I keep them in there normally. They're a sponsor of this show, and I'm a big supporter of their product. There's two brothers. It's a mom and pop kind of a startup. We got to support these guys. Get over to upspecgaming.com and check out what has taken over the industry in a big way. And I'm big things coming for that small company. And I'm happy to say that I may in fact be one of the people pushing their product and getting people to find it. And again, this is a small channel, but I appreciate the opportunity. And Dan the Man Cunningham, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "I find it a shame when difficulty levels are too high to finish a game like Cuphead. The effort that they put into the game makes it a disservice." Interesting and very valid point. And another generous friend of the show, Dan Lazaro, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Colin is always acting like a jerk, so he can't be surprised if people take his words out of context. He should stop being a jerk." Look, again, I haven't had a chance to work with Colin. I'm hoping that changes. I really want to get the guy on the show. He was on the Iron Lords podcast. He completely knocked it out of the park. So much so that now Cognito is a part of his startup since he left Kind of Funny Games. And I couldn't be prouder for him. I couldn't be prouder for Cognito. And listen, you know what? I will say this. I've listened to Colin for years. And I hear what you're saying, Dan. And I don't defend anyone's actions. If you feel he's acting like a jerk, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. He's a little brash. I will admit that. He's a very confident man in the way he talks, and does not shy away from controversy. I will give him credit in this particular aspect that the minute he wrote what he wrote and he started getting it from the community, he did reiterate what he meant, and it probably should have been put out there like that initially, but I think we've all been guilty of that. We're rushing to say something. We say something and we're like, Twitter does not have an edit mode. Damn it. So now it's out there. So you either got to delete it or you got to take it. He didn't delete it. He left it out there, but he just added to it. And I think what he added to it is really what he meant to say. But again, everyone is entitled to think about how they want to think about. But I definitely want to move on, folks, to topic number 3. And this one is pretty interesting, folks. This one I think is going to have some long legs here. Look, one of the biggest things when you start talking about PlayStation, they're a very passionate bunch. Now, some would even say that they are not the nicest people. Now, again, each community Each community is responsible for having gamers, right? People in their fields, and then the toxic community. Every one of them has it. The Xbox folks has it. Even Nintendo has a toxic community, if you can believe it. Well, one of the biggest things that has been a talking point for PlayStation that many of their diehard fans, but of course the toxic community, have staked their claim in their flag into the sand, is how PlayStation exclusives are PlayStation exclusives. But that looks like that's about to change, folks, because in a report from a data miner who happens to be someone very reliable in that community named Lance McDonald. Well, apparently a lot of these bangers, Joe, Mr. Bearbit, if you're listening, I got to put $5 into the swear jar, are coming to PC. Yeah, every time someone says banger, Joe takes off his headphones like this and he pretends he's going to quit.
That's right.
One day he's going to quit and I'm going to be very sad. So I said, that's every time I say banger, I said, sorry, Joe, God damn it, it's another $5 into the pot that we're going to use for giveaways. But yes, a lot of these big PlayStation exclusives are going to be coming. Now, there's a lot of people scratching their head about this. And Benji, I think you might be one of them because you are an industry person who sees the big picture in business. Now, Microsoft did this in 2016, starting with Quantum Break. It was the first big Xbox title launching day and date into PC and, of course, on the Xbox One consoles. And a lot of people got in their feels. What do you mean no exclusive, no exclusive? And a lot of people still to this day say that Microsoft doesn't have any actual exclusives because you could play it on PC, which I find to be hilarious. But Nixxes obviously was announced July 1st, and they are a studio that is not going to be making their own games. No, folks, Nixxes are master designers of bringing products to PC, and it appears that, in fact, is what's going to be going on. So, obviously, hearing from Lance McDonald, who is accredited within the community of data mining, and, of course, I'll start first with our esteemed guest. Is this a big surprise that we're going to start seeing a lot of these big titles? I mean, you know, we talked about it in the green room. Horizon Zero Dawn made bank for Sony, and I think to leave that kind of money on the table, Benji, is foolhardy, considering that they could use all of this new money with older titles to get new studios, to fund newer projects, to take a little bit more risks in projects that they might have passed on because these, listen, you know it yourself. One of Sony's games, you're talking, they're getting in the realm of big budget Hollywood films.
Oh yeah, huge budgets on some of
these. So are you surprised by this? And should we expect, again, I don't know when day and date is going to happen. That could be 10 years from now. But PlayStation likes money, like most corporations. Are you surprised by this data miner Lance McDonald's report?
No. So, yeah, there was a lot there, a lot of great points. You know, one thing, just to kick it off to kind of early what you were talking about, you know, a lot of people forget now because we're so used to it, but how controversial it was when Xbox first started bringing their games to PC. Yeah. Like now, you know, we're very used to it. It's been happening for several years now. It's not a big deal. But when Microsoft first announced and started doing this, you saw all over the place, even within the Xbox community, people being like, well, why am I going to buy an Xbox now? I can just get everything on PC, et cetera, et cetera. And you see people start to make these same kind of statements now about PlayStation. Well, if these PlayStation games start coming to PC, what's the point of getting console? You see that pop up all the time. What I can tell you from research and from tons and tons and tons of stuff that has been done out there, there's not a lot of evidence that putting a game on PC would harm console sales in any way, shape, or form. The reality is there's not a lot of overlap there. There just isn't. Now, is there hardcore PC gamers that are also big console players, of course, right? You're
Yeah.
always going to get some overlap in any of these things. But the reality is the bulk of people that go out and buy consoles, there's a reason they buy consoles. They want that ease of access. They just want one machine that they just hook up, they put a disc in, they download whatever. They don't want to piece it together. They don't want to worry about parts becoming obsolete. None of that. There's a huge chunk of people that only play on console, that will only ever play on console. I don't think you lose really any hardware sales putting games on PC, or if you do, it is such a minute amount. But what you gain is huge amounts of revenue and profit, right?
Yep.
We saw, for example, with Horizon Zero Dawn. Let's look at it from Microsoft's perspective. Xbox is now literally, without question, one of the biggest publishers on Steam. By far one of the biggest. They are one of the top publishers on Steam in sales. When you look at what Sea of Thieves has done, when you look at what Halo Master Chief Collection's done, when you look at what Forza Horizon 4 has done, their games, they put it on Steam. It's a big success. And that's with, keep in mind, their games being available on Game Pass via PC.
That's
so
right.
If you're Sony and you see all this money being generated, it's really hard to ignore. Now, it's hard for me to envision, even still, it's hard for me to envision Sony specifically putting like their big single player games day one on PC. I still don't think that we see that for some time, just strictly single player stuff. I would not be shocked, however, if you see them do a multiplayer or a games as a service first party game on PC day one. That would not shock me at all. However, like the next mainline, God of War, I just can't see that happening day one. One thing I can say is that I am aware of PlayStation first-party games that were designed with PC releases in mind from a very early stage. So this is something that within Sony, it is a known thing. It is a known thing. Hey, we're putting more of our games on PC. It's going to happen. Make sure that you start to tailor your games with that in mind. Yep. But day one, I think on most of their big games is still a bit further out. I can't see that. Honestly, I don't even know if they do that this generation for the single player stuff. Multiplayer stuff's a bit different, but yeah, it's hard to say no, right? Hard to say no whenever you see how much money can be made there.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Now, the one thing that we can say about Sony proper, SIE for PlayStation, is that they don't normally make a lot of multiplayer games. There is one
that is changing, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it is changing. And there's one
time.
particular game that I think is going to come back in a big way that could logistically see day and date releases, and that is SOCOM. SOCOM has been rumored for quite some time to be in active development. Again, folks, no confirmation, complete rumors. That seems like a game that if Sony did bring back, first of all, the masses would be cheering because they love, who doesn't love SOCOM? Third-person shooter, team-based shooter. It was fantastic back in the days, and it's one of those IPs you'd love to see come back. But with that said, if it turns out that it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive, well, it would be ridiculous to think that you're going to get a one-to-one like a Breath of the Wild 2 with whatever Switch is out there, right? Because it just isn't going to happen. But if you open that up to PC day and date, my God, you'd have a lot of sales because people would be like, well, I couldn't find a PlayStation 5, but I do have a PC that could run it and play it there. So that might be one of those few instances where multiplayer would come into the conversation and be like, yeah, you know what? It makes sense to release this day and date. But the single player games, I mean, like for instance, God of War PC, folks, that's happening. Maybe that happens closer to the release of the new God of War that's coming out next year.
Corey's already said plenty of times.
And yes, Corey Barlog, friend of this show.
Put it this way, you'll probably see every single first-party PlayStation 4 game on PC. Probably every single one.
Yeah, yep. I agree. And I say, and you know something, if you're against it, why? All it is going to bring revenue for Sony. And we know that right now, currently, as a corporation, Sony's bread and butter is PlayStation. The movies are making, some of the animation department specifically is making money for them. They've lost a lot of money in the film aspect because of COVID, but their TVs aren't selling. No one's buying Walkmans anymore. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's really PlayStation that's making the money for them. And if you want them to continue to spend $50 million on The Last of Us Part 3, which is probably what it's going to cost to make that game if they make it, or the next whatever, you're going to need them to get money from somewhere else. And again, folks, this why some people, Benji may ask, why is this happening? Well, I point the finger at the community because we know, and from a numbers point of view, let's say, for instance, Spider-Man 2018. Now, let's just say, for shits and giggles, they're at 25 million copies sold, which is amazing, right? Like, that is no pun intended. If they're at 25, and the number might be higher or lower, that's fantastic. But when you have a community of 114 plus million consoles, in the big picture, they're just not doing as well with their single player games that are exclusives. The community isn't coming out. It's usually about 15%, 15 to 18% of the community that buys these games. So if you want to know why their games are $70, the community's full. You didn't go out and buy all these games. And that's their bread and butter. Their first party games are where they shine, and the community isn't supporting them because they want to play all of the third party stuff on those. And that's because of the 85+% that is the normies that buy their console. That's the reality. 15 to 19% of the community are the hardcore like us. Same thing for Xbox. But let's bring Kay Asante into the conversation. Kay Asante, you're a PC guy. You have a nice PC.
I'm a gamer. I'm not a PC guy. I play wherever the games are.
But you know what? But that is selling yourself short, because the conversation you brought to the table, the tech talk, when you, with Valve's thing, blew me out of the water. So I was like, this guy is a freaking brain here. So you may not be you might not be a PC guy per se.
Sure.
But is this surprising that we're going to see, like Benji said, potentially most or all of the PlayStation 4 games make it over to PC?
You know, it's really interesting. It's really funny. First off, let's just get this out of the way. Having these games go to PC changes nothing, right? Benji rightfully points that out. He has all the research. He has the details. It changes nothing. If nothing else, if anything else, it actually helps them, because PlayStation is going to play kind of fast and loose with all of this, right? They're not going to put everything there day and date. Maybe you get your Uncharted to entice you to then go buy a PlayStation for the next one, because it'll take a while for the next one to come. They're trying to do that, you know. And what was it? It was Sean Layden that said a while ago that budgets are getting too high. You want the crazy AAA games, the budgets are getting too high. Now you have two choices. You cut the budgets a bit, make it a bit more, you know, manageable. But that's not what everybody wants. Everybody wants The Last of Us Part 3, where you can, you know, point out every blade of hair on the screen.
Or blade of grass.
Or blade of grass on the. That's right. You know, exactly. And to do that, they need a lot more people purchasing, right? And a lot more people purchasing means more than the platform that they have currently, right? There's nothing wrong with that. When Xbox announced this years ago, I was like, woohoo, that means I'm playing there. And then I go to my office and I'm playing here. My save carries over and I'm playing on my phone. It's just more for me. You know, when Halo Infinite shows up, I'll probably be playing most of the time on the here, not because I want to play it on my PC, but first off, I work a lot. This is my office. And secondly, I have a 21x9-inch screen. So it'll be beautiful over here.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not playing it on the Series X. Doesn't mean I won't play it on Little Man when the time comes, you know. It's just more options for us, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I love Horizon, the first Horizon. I'm playing that on my PC. I beat it on PlayStation 4, you know, and when I got a pretty decent beefy PC and I wanted to test out some benchmarks and whatnot, I bought that game and I'm testing it out on that game. I love that game. Can't wait for the next one, you know. None of this is bad. You know, absolutely none of this is bad. What it seems to be unfortunate is that folks get a little bit too riled up and they get all in their feelings, and all of a sudden they wrap it up in their own like their identity becomes you know, all, and that's just unfortunate. It's kind of sad, you know. I play where the games are. I have a pretty decent PC, but I game most often on my Xbox because I'm an offset controller kind of guy. Doesn't mean I don't like the DualSense. I think it's a great controller. You know, I have like many controllers from many different platforms and many different games. You play what the games are, I have VR. I'm a big VR guy. I love VR,
Yeah.
I will
It's
throw
not
a little
many
shade
of
at
us.
the
I'm with you.
No,
Me too.
no, there
I'm
aren't
right
many
there.
of us.
Yeah.
I love the VR.
Love it.
I will throw a little bit of shade at PlayStation because their PSVR was crap, but that's neither here nor there. Hopefully PSVR 2 is amazing and I will be there first
Yeah.
day.
Well, the controllers
It's
look
about
good.
the games.
I will say
yes,
that.
the controllers are up to
Yeah.
snuff for sure. So it gives me hope,
Yeah.
One thing I'm sad is that Microsoft isn't heading there, but maybe they will after PlayStation pushes them in that direction. That's
Quest
what this
2,
is all
baby.
about. There you go.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. You PlayStation folks, if you don't, you should like this. This should be great for you because
I
that
agree.
means your games will be as bombastic as you need them to be. It means they can still afford those humongous budgets that you want them to afford, right? Or every time a game comes out, you have to go spend $70 and hope that it goes good. You have to spend it like it's your job because otherwise you may not get a sequel to the game you like. It's unfortunate. The thing that about all of this that really it's a little bit one of those things that make you go like Xbox did it and they were like just raked over the coals. I remember that like for the butt of every joke, but now the conversation changes a little bit. People are like, well, it makes sense. Their games are, yeah. It is what it is. I'll leave that out there for y'all to decide what that means. I'll just say, to me, it is a great thing. It is a great thing for both Xbox and for PlayStation because every time somebody does something great, it forces the other one to have, even if they don't act like they're responding, they will respond. They will respond. When Nintendo woke up in that morning and they saw that Switch Pro that they didn't make, they were like, "Sons of what about
the timing of that announcement?
Right?
It was just day the OLED went up for pre-order.
Too much. And every video said not final hardware. I'm like, come on, John, they're releasing it today. Get it out there. Come on now. They may not respond immediately, but it's pushing all of us forward. I bet you that next Nintendo may not have all the bells and whistles, but it'll have more bells and whistles than it would have had that thing not released and shown what is possible. This is the world you want to live in. Let them push each other and you win. And you, PlayStation gamer, should not be all in your feelings and get all mad about it. You still get to play where you play. It won't change anything for you. In actual fact, it'll make things better for you. So at the end of the day, to me, it's just one of those situations where folks just need to calm down. It's not that serious. It doesn't have to be a one versus another thing. If I have any issues, I have issues with the way they do business. Mag says it all the time, and sometimes I agree. Their business sense tends to be a little too, I don't know how to put it. They need to they succeed at the cost of the consumer rather than with the consumer,
Yeah.
And to me, that sometimes is a little problematic. Doesn't mean their games aren't great. Doesn't mean I won't play them. And wherever they put them will be better for all of us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Mag, let's grab your opinion. But before I do, Flame drops an additional $2 from Jen, says, go Nixus, very valuable studio. Indeed. They are. Yep. And our brother, or should I say your brother,
was
across the way. Yes, that's a big pickup for them. And like I said, in the long run, it's not meant for them to make their own game. It's meant for what they do best, and that is bring games to PC. And that is what we're talking about. Noof Nukem, good friend of this show and good friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Apparently they're roommates. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat, says, fantastic panel. Keep up the great work. Boomstick podcast is legit because the poop emoji is lit, indeed, brother. Thank you. And so, Mag, listen. I looked up one of the most expensive games on paper, on record. This is going to shock a lot of people. So we know that these games are getting to be budgets of. There are some films that get engrossed by some of these gaming budgets. One of which comes to us. I'm going to tell you how much it costs to make the game. And you're going to be like, you're lying. Boom. It's the truth. I just looked it up. $80 million. So you say to yourself, that's got to be The Last of Us 2. Negative. Metal Gear Solid 5. $80 million. That is, I mean, folks,
there's many games that are going over 100 million now.
100 million. That is becoming the standard, Benji, and you know that for a fact. And that's why
Konami went, don't go full Kojima. Out.
Yeah, well, I mean, now he's going to be Microsoft's problem, but they have money enough for the rest of the universe. Are you surprised to see this happening? And more so, the question is, why are PlayStation gamers so against this, Mag?
I think it's a pride issue, and that's why I think the gamers are some gamers, not all of them, not all PlayStation gamers, but I think they get all in their feels and everything else. I think it's more of a pride thing because they've always been the center of the conversation. So consider some of those people feel like they're the spoiled brat of the family. They've always win. They always get what they want. They always get the best, and there's only one place to get it. I don't understand it because all those people who play PlayStation, a lot of people that play PlayStation and stuff like that, I got more than you do, and I'm not even considered a Sony fanboy by any means necessary. I'm an Xbox fan. I have multiple consoles of every single PlayStation. I have thousands of PlayStation games from 1 all the way till 5. But I don't really care. They could put it in a Tesla for all I care. I don't care where you're going to play these games. What does it matter? This is tied directly into the last conversation we just had with Kay Asante's topic of why the hell do you care where other people get to enjoy their product that they paid for just like you? What do you care? Who cares? Where they play it on a PC. Does it change your experience? Like the other guys in the panel said, no, they don't. It doesn't change anything. You still get to enjoy all your games on your TV, okay, or wherever the hell you're going to play it. And then some guy's going to play it on his PC. What does it matter to you? Actually, you know what? If you're that far up Sony's ass about, where they're the best and all this, you should actually be happy that it's going to PC. Because then it's going to increase their sales by possibly 5-10 million copies or whatever. And guess what? That's going to keep the Sony machine running forward, and you're going to get bigger and better games coming. Okay? So this is a good move. Obviously, it's a good move. We all know it's a good move. Okay? We all know this. This is a smart business decision, and this is nothing new. Okay? But you know how it always goes. Microsoft is always the older sibling that takes all the crap. Okay? The one that stays out late and they get grounded. But then the younger brother goes out and he stays up late and doesn't get grounded because you kind of, you were the path maker. You were the trailblazer who had to take all the crap as the oldest sibling, right? That's always the way it goes. Look at Microsoft. They put the internet port in the original Xbox. Everybody laughed. Okay. Then a couple of years later, whatever, Xbox Live came out. Everybody laughed. Right? Cross-gen games. Connect. What happens now? The FBI spying on us. What's happening now? Alexa, how do you make blueberry pancakes? Right? All these things that have happened, Microsoft has done it first. And then, of course, back into the topic, Microsoft starts putting games on PC. People laughed. Now no one's laughing because you know what happened is now the other side of the pond says, whoa, guys. Jim Ryan, we all know what Jim Ryan is. He's a numbers man, right?
Yep.
He is looking directly at the situation, which is something, Benji, brought up before. Look at the Steam sales charts that have been going on for the last couple of months.
Let me just jump in for that. Last month, the Steam charts that you're talking about.
Yep.
4 of the top 7.
That's right.
Were Xbox games.
And 2 of them were the same game.
Forza twice.
Forza 4 and Forza 4 Part 2, The Revenge. How did 2 Forza games make it in the top 7? It's unbelievable. It's remarkable.
Am I wrong? That's consistent, right? That's happened a few times already with Sea of Thieves and a few other things.
That's right.
Like
and then you've got, of course,
constantly in the top 10, right?
And what's going to happen with Halo
Xbox
Infinite?
is one of the biggest publishers on all of PC now.
Right.
Like they are one of the biggest publishers. In terms of sales, they're one of the biggest publishers on PC.
Crazy.
Right.
Wow.
And do you guys think Jim Ryan's sitting in a log cabin somewhere with a fire and no internet? He knows what's going on. If we see it, he's seen it.
Of course.
Well,
okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn, as of March of this year,
yes,
Horizon Zero Dawn had already made 250% positive return on investment.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
As of March
Only
of
from
this
PC.
year, already just from the PC release, 250% increase over their cost of investment. So it's like
it looks and plays so much better on PC than it does on PlayStation.
They're making so much money from older releases.
Right. So
yeah.
they know what's going on. If we know it, trust me, they know. Okay, they're making a lot more than we are. That's what they do, and so they know what's going on. So this is a no-brainer for them. Now, there was something else actually that Benji mentioned earlier, which actually sparked something in my mind. He was talking about how they may release, like, let's say, a multiplayer game day and date. Okay, now, if we sit back and think the news we just heard a couple of weeks ago, what is Firewalk Studios working on for Sony right now?
Interesting.
They are the old Destiny crew, are they not?
Yes, they are.
Now they created their own studio, Firewalk Studios, and guess what? Splashed all over the news. They are releasing a PS5 multiplayer focused game only.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it said PS5. I mean, they didn't say anything about PC, but maybe they'll save that for an announcement or something like that. But if they're doing a multiplayer-focused, AAA multiplayer-focused game by the guys who made Destiny, wouldn't that make absolute sense that would be their first day and date on PC? That sounds like one.
And if it's SOCOM, 100%.
And then you've got this Nixus crew, working in collaboration with the Firewalk Studios, because they all work with each other and everything else to get a project out. Okay, this makes absolute sense to me. I think that might be the first day and date Sony game that comes out on PC, might be whatever this game happens to be. Now, that'll also still give them at least a couple years buffer, to continuously release the older games, as the Sony heads have already said that they're going to be doing. Remember, they did say that. They said, we're not releasing new games day and date right now.
Yep.
But what we are doing is that we're going to be releasing our back catalog, games that have come out a year, 2 years ago, whatever, and they will slowly but surely start releasing all the Sony legacy titles on PC. By the time they're done all of that, let's say one every 6 months or something like that, right? By the time they're done all that, then they drop the hammer on this multiplayer game, whatever it happens to be. Maybe it is SOCOM for all we know, right? That would be the wise move. And then from there, then you can judge to see the trajectory of sales and everything else and say, you know what, this is all heading in a positive direction, which I can't see it doing anything but heading in a positive direction. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Then they have to make that decision, which I'm sure they've already made. Okay, we're just speculating. But I'm saying maybe, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, maybe they entertain the idea of having, let's say, their first-party games not come exactly day and date, but do as Rockstar does. You know how Rockstar released like GTA 5 in, September of 2013, and then in the spring they released it on PC, right? They did the same thing with Red Dead Redemption 1.
Red Dead, same thing, yeah.
Right, and they did the same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2. They spaced it out by about 6 to 8 months, and then they optimized it and released it for PC. Therefore, you got the people who are still going to be buying PS5s for that God of War, because you're not going to wait 8 months. I don't care who you think you are, right? You know you're going to get it, right? Uncharted 5, who's going to wait?
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to go. So Sony is going to maximize their profit by purchasing, getting people to purchase those PS5s, buy those games on the PS5s, right? And then from there, 6 to 8 months or maybe a year later, whatever it is, then the PC crowd, and the PC crowd are very patient. These guys have the patience of saints. I don't know how they do it. They will literally sit back and be like, oh, it's coming to PC in 2 years? I'll wait. Yeah. And I'm like, how can you wait? But that's what they do. And they will wait to get that on PC. So now Sony is basically taking from two pots and getting the best of both worlds. And this is an absolute no-brainer to me. It makes sense, and I think it's going to be a very successful move for them because it's successful for Microsoft. It's going to be very successful for Sony, and which turn it actually all boils down to a great all-around gaming experience for all of us multi-platform supporters.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I definitely think everyone is onto something. Dutch, why don't you close out the show, which has been absolutely incredible. What are you expecting the Sony fans, the diehard Sony fans, the most vocal Sony fans to say about this? And the question I had posed in the thumbnail, do you think Sony actually cares?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Short and sweet. I love it.
Short and sweet.
I can back that up with data really quick.
Yep.
So Jim Ryan himself, right? Think about how much blowback there was online when they announced like Horizon on PC and stuff. Think about like Twitter went completely nuts.
Crazy.
All that stuff. Yeah, crazy.
Mhm.
Jim Ryan said in an interview, this is after Horizon had already come out. They asked Jim Ryan, they're like, so, you know, are you going to bring more games to PC? And he said, we saw no negative feedback to the Horizon launch. So, yeah.
There you go.
Saw no negative feedback. In other words, that's a very small percentage of people that are complaining. They're just very loud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, more to the point anyway, what Benji and Asante was saying originally, like the core player base, the actual vast majority of PlayStation players are casuals. Are they going to give a dime as to where that game is releasing? No. Is it on PlayStation? Yes, brilliant. Do they have the top tier PC to play these games at their best quality? No. Do the vast majority of the market have the top tier PC? No. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
What is the problem? Unless are you going to be missing out something by trying to play it on PC? Chances are no. You're going to get the best experience on PlayStation 5 unless you have spent a small fortune on the best gaming rig that you can do for PC.
Which is which the average price is about $3,000 if you really want to, you know, dial it up.
One about 3 months ago, it was not cheap, especially in the world where chip shortages are happening. They're charging you even more than normal. So
Yeah.
Again, same applies. Obviously, the hardcore PlayStation players is exactly the same as the PC master race. Like, like the vast majority of PC players do not have the top tier rig, and that's the same for PlayStation players. Like the vast majority of current PlayStation players do not have a PlayStation 5. It's just the way that's just the way the market is currently. Of course, that will change over time. But these releases in time, and again, there is no negative to this at all for anybody. PlayStation is going to make more money, which will reinvest it into more titles, which will get better because of that reinvestment. Those worlds will be bigger because of their increased refinement, thanks to PC on these games, thanks to being able to develop and use more tools to develop and optimize these games further to get working better on PC, which then will refer back to these original developers to learn more tricks on, right, okay, we'll refine it to get better performance on PC. We can then backtrack that and get more performance out of these console ports. Then it's in the grand scheme, it's going to be best for both worlds that it goes to PC regardless. We've seen the opposite effect with Flight Sim. Flight Sim is coming out on console, and due to the release on Xbox Series X, you're getting a performance boost on PC that is doubling performance for the release on the 27th, which is nuts. It's actually having the opposite effect because they're having to try and make that run on Xbox Series consoles. They're actually able to now get the Series consoles running at 4K, anywhere between 30 and 60, which is insane considering the PC was struggling to do that with a 3090 card. But they're also getting 2080 super cards to get ultra everything on PC at a stable 55 to 60 frames, which is what was running at 25 to 30 frames. So PC players are going to benefit, but PlayStation players are also going to benefit for this increased refinement on tools, tool sets, performance, etc. across the board. It is a win-win situation for PlayStation fans, and they really need to just dial it down and calm down a little bit. It's not a bad thing. It's not gonna be to the detriment of their games. If anything, it's going to improve everything all round. That's just it. You just need to stop worrying. It's not gonna cause your games to be worse. It's not gonna mean that you're not going to have these exclusives. They're still exclusive to PlayStation. It's just a case of a very small market of, and I would say a small because PC or PC gaming, in the grand scheme of things, is the largest platform you could possibly play on. And I'm not saying because of the type or the performance that you've got on PC. It's just the scale of which it can. PC gaming is anything from card games all the way up to the top tier, all the way at the top. It's so varied. There is literally, and that's what Phil Spencer keeps reiterating. billions of players worldwide on mobile and PC. That is it. And PlayStation will, once they've tapped into this PC market, look at this mobile market a little bit more indefinitely, because that's another huge market that's there to be able to invest or get more return on investments. That's all it is. It's a business, and people need to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, everyone had incredible points. This has been one hell of a 2 hours, folks. 3 topics, one originally written by, our good brother, Asante, and lots of big opinions. Real quick, Cerebral Paul, that we were just talking about, is in the chat, and he drops a $5 super chat and says, thanks for all your support in the accessibility discussion. You don't have to fret, brother. You're welcome here, and I got you 6 right along with everybody on this panel. And DJ Birdo DOS drops a very generous $10 super sticker with a hippo giving someone a KO. I love it. So thank you so much for that, brother. That is awesome. Thank you very much for that. Listen, again, this has been a great show. Folks, we had over 300 people here. And again, and that's big. When we're going up against Colt Eastwood, who goes live at 8 o'clock. Colt's a good friend of this show, good friend of the community. And obviously, it's a shared space, YouTube, right? So, we're going to keep putting out the good content. Hopefully, if you missed it live, you'll catch it on VOD. And you're always going to get an incredible discussion. Cameras are a thing now on Double Barrel Gaming. It was highly requested. Obviously, you can see that I grow the mohawk. Very nice for camera. And I'm always nice and shaved to go. But I want to thank everybody.
We've got beards of all variants today as well.
Beards of all variants. I got stuff.
We have the whole thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. You got the don't shave in 2 days, and then you don't shave in 2 years, which is, of course, is the Wandering Dutch. I love it.
This is the COVID beard.
It's a COVID beard. But listen, Benji, thank you so much for coming here, brother. I hope you had a good time. You got the golden ticket. We're going to have you back in a future show, hopefully towards the end of the year. Love the energy you bring. Love the knowledge you bring. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media and potentially check your YouTube channel out.
Well, thank you so much. I had a blast with everyone tonight. Awesome panel. Had so much fun. So the best ways to follow me are going to be either on Twitter. I'm just Benji Sales on Twitter. That's where I'm the most active. Or on my YouTube channel, which is just Benji Sales on YouTube as well. So those are the 2 best ways to get a hold of me. I'm super active on Twitter, so you can get a hold of me pretty easy on there. And then I usually stream on YouTube about once a week.
Nice. Well, listen, Benji, it was an honor and a pleasure to work with you today, brother, and cannot wait for you to come back. And of course, let's continue with the Taskmaster himself, known as Asante, who wrote topic number 2. Great stuff, dude. Loved the accessibility conversation. I think that it's as much fun as we like to have on these shows. I think conversations like that are needed, and you will find on this channel, on this program, on everybody's channel, more specifically, Wandering Dutch talks about it. Middle Age Gamer talks about it. You yourself talks about it. It's a topic that we need to, as content creators, as voices of the community, to continue to talk about, to make sure that it doesn't fall on deaf ears. And you did an amazing job. Tell everyone about where they can check your YouTube channel out, your 2 weekly shows with your brother from another, and also where can people reach out to you on social media to strike up a conversation.
Thank you so much, Boom. Yeah, so I appreciate the conversation. Benji, as I said, I'm a huge fan, so I appreciate podcasting with. This is awesome. You'll see me in your chat next time. I'm always in there. I enjoy the back and forth. And my brothers, Mag, Dutch, you guys are always great. Always have great points to bring, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Boom, for letting me to reach out that topic. Oddly enough, that's the space that I kind of feel comfortable most in. I feel like there's a lot of back and forth, you versus us, and I kind of feel like that's what the companies use against us. So I kind of my voice in this space is to redirect your ire to where it belongs and not to your brother. It's usually to those who are trying to fool you. And so that's what I'm here for. I'm here to say, lay down your arms against your brother and look at the companies. They might be doing something bad, and you may need to focus on that. So I appreciate you letting me do that. We also do that on the Sunday show. We enjoy heated discussion. We actually had such similar discussion on last Saturday's show. Forgive me. That is the Gaming Circle podcast that I do with my brother from another mother, Mr. Everborn Saga, who's usually in here, but he's playing.
He's recovered. He's not feeling well. He's a little under the weather. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. So this Saturday you'll catch us. We had a little bit of some Riley PC talk last week, so we'll see where that goes this week. On Thursdays, we also do a show on his channel called On the Reel. That is the movie and TV show podcast, and you will start seeing some guests from the community join us. We're in the mix of trying to get some other folks, more voices in there, and a lot of slanderous talk on that show. If you didn't like, if you like Batman, I apologize. Last week.
Hashtag King of Slander is.
Oh yeah. Everborn the Slanderous Saga. You know, when he's not here to defend himself, I need to put him out like that. So please join us, join the chat. You know, fight him because I can't do it by myself. Appreciate y'all coming in, but you know, you can find me name change because PlayStation does not like my handle, so it is now TKO Asante everywhere on Xbox, on PlayStation, on Twitter, and I appreciate y'all joining us, and we'll have doing this again. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we certainly will. Next up, middle-aged gamer guy, the loudest man of Canada. So much so that he might actually cause an avalanche, but not last winter because they didn't get any snow in Canada, which was very strange. Middle-aged gamer guy, tell everyone about what other shows you're on, and more importantly, where could people potentially strike up a conversation, and if they're not listening, get their eardrums blown out.
Well, thank you guys for a great show once again, panel, chat, and of course to our special guest, Benji Sales. It was an absolute honor to finally be able to do a show with you. I could tick it off the list, and it was wonderful. But guys, yes, you can reach me at the middle-aged game guy. That's with a GY at the end on Twitter, of course, on the PlayStation 5 and on the Xbox Series X. You can follow me at all one word, all capitals, because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. That is with 2 G's, of course. Every Monday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. You can find me right here on Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends. And, of course, Tuesday nights, 10 p.m., you can find me on Gaming After Dark with none other than Noof Nukem and Titan Drago for some rated R gaming goodness. So that's every Tuesday night. And also, I sent out a link to some people. I wanted to see what we were doing with Pulse Music Media, by the way. We did our the last video that was done was, of course, Memories of Mother from God of War. The music video that was done. It's really, really, really good production. I thought it was a great thing. But we have more coming in the fall. So there'll be a lot more music. Music and gaming will be coming in the fall. And like I was saying before, I know on YouTube it's starting to pick up. TikTok's got over 200,000 subscribers now. Wow. So it is starting to move. And it's doing something. So we're really, really proud of the work that's being done there. And anyways, guys, I'm not going to hold you up any longer. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all next week.
Well, thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. And the Wandering Dutch, newest addition to Primetime Gaming, and it's a good one at that. Not only are you an incredible member of this community, you're celebrating your show's 1-year anniversary with I think total of 23 panel members. Between what's already on the panel and the people that are going to be dropping through, and the list is stout. Everyone that you know and love that we all watch are going to be popping in there to show their support. Tell everyone about that particular event happening this week. I think it's this Thursday. And also, where could people reach out to you and potentially get some beard tips for the best beard in the business?
Yeah. Thank you again to awesome panel and awesome chat. And again, Benji, it was a pleasure meeting you, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Been following you for quite a while now, and
I hit all y'all with the follow. I followed y'all back.
Yay!
Thank you, Benji. Awesome stuff. No, absolute pleasure. Like I say, I've been following your work for quite some time, and it is great to see because I work in sales, high up sales, so I love statistics. Yeah. I love statistics. It's great to see. Yeah, I appreciate that kind of stuff because it gives you a kind of a better understanding as the market overall and how things are performing. And people need to understand as well, as Boom mentioned very early on there, sales do matter, and the more sales, the more chance you have of getting these sequels. You need to buy, you need to invest. So statistics do matter in the grand scheme of things. So appreciate your work. Absolutely awesome to have you on and great to panel with you.
Awesome.
aside from that, you can find me on Twitter at Wondering Dutch and at YouTube at Wondering Dutch as well, where we host the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, usually every Wednesday. However, an exception this week because it falls exactly on the 1 year, on the 22nd of July, to when we started the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. So we've changed it just to Thursday for this week. But as we stipulated there, 16 guests from throughout the community, and you will know them all. Some of your favorite podcasts, hosts and community members have joined us. The reason we've got them in primarily is these have really helped cement and build on the foundations of where we come from. They've supported us, helped us grow as a channel as well for our first year. So it was only right to get those all in, or as many as possible. I would possibly fit into that. Anyway, help us celebrate, because it's them that also should be celebrating kind of what they've helped build as well through their support over the last 12 months. So I hope everybody enjoys it. That is at 2 p.m. Eastern. I need to keep remembering that for daylight saving time. 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK, and that is again on Thursday. Again, thank you to everybody in chat. You've been absolutely amazing. We shall see you all again next week.
Well, thank you, brother, for that. And of course, I want to thank everybody that came in today. Again, almost over 300 people here, which is huge. And of course, I want to thank the super chats that came in. Unbelievable generosity. And this week, you're going to get a chance to see those super chats and where they go. Mrs. Boomstick is her idea. We're doing this week on Tuesday and Thursday for the Xbox Tractor podcast, Christmas in July. She has donated, folks, $350 of her own money she bought. And what we're doing is we're giving away 3 monster gift cards per show, which is Tuesday and Thursday. And all you got to do is get into the chat. I'm going to put the hashtag to tweet. And when you tweet it, she'll be doing the picks. She's on vacation this week. It's a $100 gift card for you to go and buy your own Design Labs controller, which I did this week.
Ooh.
I made a Banjo-Kazooie controller, which looks dope. And so it's one $100 gift card for the Microsoft Store per show. And then she added bonus content to it, another 50 and another 25 per show. And that's all out of her money, her pocket, to give back to the community, because you guys and gals do so much for us. And a total of $350. And all you got to do is be in the chat, retweet that hashtag, which I will give you, and by the third topic of each show, we're going to pick 3 winners, and those codes will be sent to you as soon as the show is done. And all you got to do is be there, folks. Anyway, listen, thank you again for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. Thank you for tuning in for tonight's show. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you enjoyed it more so than that, retweet this on social media. Let people know that we do this each and every Monday, and where they can support Double Barrel Gaming. And we'll see you next week.